Hello and welcome, everyone. 'Tis the season after all, and what that means is it's Holiday Cube draft time. Uh, I do enjoy the Holiday Cube quite a bit. It's a fun cube. It's not as good as the Legacy Cube. It's just less fair and less fun and all that. So, anyway, I am dubbing this video post draft because the recording software didn't get the audio the first time, but oh well. So I'll try not to spoil it for you guys, but it's a good one. Alright, so my initial look at this pack is, well, Black Lotus. Um, it doesn't really get better than Black Lotus. Other cards in the pack, I love Hangerback Walker. Mana War is for a certain deck. This is kind of a lame pack, though. Green Sun Zenith is a great card, but that's something you want to pick up sort of mid-pack when you know that you're green, not first pick. Coalition Relic's a very safe first pick. And again, Hangerback's a great card, and I love it. So, but yeah, this is a pretty dry pack, and Black Lotus is not close. It's the best card, so you should just always pick it. Like if you see a Black Lotus, you need to have a very, very good reason for not snapping it up immediately. I have been past a Black Lotus once before, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Unless you're playing a combo deck and it's like pack 3 and you really need a certain piece of the combo that's in the pack, go for it, maybe, but it's a tough choice. Alright, so here there's a sword, which is a safe pick. We're obviously not committed to any colors, so that would continue having us not be committed to any colors. Polluted Delta's fine. Any fetch land is always good because of the way they interact with dual lands, and they basically can just search up whatever land that you want. So it's always good to pick up dual lands that are at least one of your colors, or fetch lands that are none of your colors, just because it's not that difficult to make them work if you try. But I think I'm going to take the Imperial Seal because it does have the highest upside, and it lets us dig up Black Lotus, which is very, very powerful. That's a very strong combo right there. Let me just check something for a sec. Okay, we're still good. You know what, I'll move that to the other screen. Alright, so anyway, yeah, I think we should take the Imperial Seal. I'm not sure why I'm waffling about so much. Just take it. Yeah, it's the strongest card, and it goes really well with Black Lotus. Alright, so we have another sword, which is a good option. Wasteland. I looked at the memory jar there because I was considering, maybe Storm, but I don't like doing Storm. It's so all in, and when it works really well, and when it doesn't work, you crash and burn very hard, which is not my style. I prefer a much more conservative line of drafting. So, in retrospect, I think it's between Sword and Wasteland, but this was my first draft of... Well, this wasn't my first draft, but I hadn't drafted this cube that many times when I did this video, and I kind of wanted to make the Storm plan work, which, I mean, can you blame me? It's a fun deck. It's definitely a fun deck when it works, but Wasteland and Sword are just better. Besides, if you really want to play Storm, you can try and wheel it. You can try to wheel the jar anyway. Alright, so here, Mox Diamond is probably the most powerful card, next to maybe Armageddon. Notably, no good Storm cards, except for arguably Thirst for Knowledge. But I think Mox Diamond's the pick here. It's just very powerful. It's an overtly powerful card. It's even good in Storm too, because it's a 0 mana way to get to add to your Storm count while also generating mana. Both of those things are very good. Alright, I believe I take Opposition here, but that's a trap. Opposition is a trap in this cube. It's very good in Legacy Cube because people are less willing to interact. You really, really need to interact in the first few turns. It's extremely important in this cube because of decks like Storm and the Artifact deck and the Ramp decks that just will kill you on turn 2 or 3 if you're not careful. And honestly, just the games don't go as long. So opposition is a much harder card to set up, and you just don't have time to make it work. I mean, I have some Storm stuff going on here, so Steam Vents isn't a bad pick, and honestly, there's not really anything else in the pack, aside from, you know, arguably Sphinx's Rev or Scrubland. But yeah, I took the opposition, which was a huge mistake. So here, Damnation's great for like a control deck, which we could certainly try. Roast is kind of whatever, Atarka is like whatever. Temple of Malice is fine if I'm sticking to the Storm plan, which I'm pretty sure that I am. I forced Storm a little too hard here, not gonna lie. Yeah, Daze is also worthy of note. But I think Damnation is the pick. But hey, go hard or go home, right? No? Nope, no going hard? Yeah, okay, this is where I started to come to my senses a little bit. Because, like, if I can wheel that turnabout, then I know that Storm is going to be good, but otherwise not so much. So, Isolated Chapel's not that great yet, because we don't know if we're playing white. Same thing goes for Well, Rakdos Signet's fine, but Trinket Mage is great because it digs up Lotus and Mox Diamond, and what more do you want out of a card? Like, come on. Pestermite would be more appealing if we had any red cards in our pile, but we don't, because there's obviously the Kiki Jiki Splinter Twin combo, but that's not what this deck wants to do, that's for sure. So this deck still could push into a Storm direction. What do we just take here? Spellskite? Shieldred? It's a pretty underwhelming pack for us. I mean, Black Lotus Shieldred is pretty good. Play Shieldred turn 4. Just start wiping their board and resetting yours. Seems good to me. But at this point I noticed that the red has kind of been coming around a lot, and I could probably step into that deck. Step into like a heavy red or like a black-red control or just heavy red aggro. There's Pentad Prism, which is good for Storm. And Faithless Looting's also okay in Storm. Searing Spear is fine if you're playing mono red. Or if you're just playing like blue-red counterburn or something. It's not super exciting, though in fairness, none of these cards are. So that's not really an adequate thing. Except for Silverblade Paladin, but we're definitely not playing white aggro. So yeah, I just take the Prism. Honestly, Prism's not a bad card. Gutter Snipe is like a kind of off, like it's a mono red card, but it's also like an off Storm card. I'm wondering if I should have just taken that Temple, actually. Wouldn't have been a bad decision. Alright, Gatekeeper? Sword just better than Gatekeeper? Probably. But, you know, whatever. Wasn't a very great pack. Godless Shrine, huh? That's a fine card to take. Not really the Goblin Welder deck, clearly. And a Scrubland. Or Goblin Guide. Actually, Goblin Guide versus Crater's Claws. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the deck that does the things. That's all I'll say for now. Yeah. So I kind of begrudgingly take Chainwalker here, but I don't know why I hate it so much, because like Borderland Marauder, that's a card that I really like, and that's a 3/2 for 2 that swings, which is exactly Gorehouse Chainwalker. It's just that neither of them can block well anyway, but for some reason I just don't like Chainwalker. And I'm pretty sure that I bring it in every single time in this draft. Just because it's a 3-power guy. Alright. Yes. Upheaval. Pretty much one of the most powerful cards. It's a card that you take early if you can. We have a couple of ramp spells. Not that many, but we can certainly try for it. Yeah, other than that, if we wanted to stay control, Go for the Throat's fine. Battlesphere is also fine. Show and Tell is not really what this deck wants. I think at this point it was a little ambitious to go for the upheaval, to be honest. Like, it's not too late, but I it's we're starting to throw away so many picks that it's getting a little silly, I would say. Oh well. Upheaval it is. Or do I take Go for the Throat? Hey, I came to my senses and took Go for the Throat. Wow. Boy, am I shocked. As you can see, I have so much confidence in myself. Well, this draft didn't end up the way that I expected, so that's why I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, here, Spectre's kind of whatever. Bolt's fine. Ponder is a little ambitious, I think. We only have 2 blue cards. We're not really blue at this point. We should just be taking Bolt. Or potentially Koth, but more likely Bolt. Like, blue is slipping out of our fingers pretty fast here. No, don't take it. Don't take the Ponder. Take the Bolt. Yeah, I took out the opposition, so I think I might... There we go. I figured it out. I can magic. I swear. Come on. There we go. Wow. Now, of course, we have a pack full of blue cards to try and entice me back. Though, given everything, I think Young Pyromancer's still best. Play like a controlling deck with that, with Young Pyromancer type deal. Totally acceptable. Treachery is such a powerful card, though. I don't know why it's still here. I mean, I guess it is only, what, second pick? But is this second pick? No, this is third pick. So it made it through 2 people's hands, so I guess they're just not playing blue on that side. Ludro Core is a fine card, but Treachery is a lot more powerful. But yeah, just taking Young Pyromancer seems fine. Seems decent. Yeah, go for it. There you go. And there's a Splinter Twin. Though we don't have any other pieces of the combo yet, so that's not the best. I think I like Chrome Mox here. Just ramps us. Technically kind of fixes our colors a little bit. If we wanted to stay on the control train, Toxic Deluge is nice. Nicol Bolas is actually a reasonable pick, I would say. He is 8 mana, but you know, I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But Toxic Deluge is a fine pick. Storm is not happening, so Necropotence is not a choice. Splinter Twin's reasonable, but Toxic Deluge just puts us in a more controlling direction, which is what we have so far. Like Gatekeeper, Go for the Throat, Gutter Snipe, those are all fine control. I mean, Gutter Snipe isn't the best of those as far as control goes. He's worse than Young Pyromancer, but still totally fine. Oh god, control magic. Why? What the hell is going on? Why is everyone passing all of this good blue? I don't understand anymore. I just don't get it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with blue, but Swifter is a good pick. I think I'm gravitating more towards aggressive black-red at this point. I don't know if that's necessarily correct, but man, Searing Blaze. Yeah, I think at this point I'm happy to just jump on the mono-red train. Which is what ends up happening. Spoiler alert. Like, just, it becomes clear that no one else is doing it, and I actually have a high enough density of red that I can try it. Dualcaster Mage. Dualcaster Mage can do some disgusting things in a mono-red deck, and I don't know, for some reason I just don't like Chandra. What the hell am I targeting Skinrender for? Anyway, Dualcaster Mage and Chandra, I don't know, I just don't like Chandra. Outpost Siege is fine, but... Wow, really? Okay. I guess I wasn't all on the train yet. Liliana's kind of whatever. Skull Clamp's good. Incinerate's good. Yeah, I decided to just go burn. So we wheeled that Burst Lightning out of the pack. This is going to be fun because this is like one of the things about Holiday Cube too, is that if a certain archetype is very open, this is part of the way that I like to draft now. My strategy, oh, take Koth, jeez man, that card's so good, is like if you can take cards that are flexible and very strong, like especially cards like Lightning Bolt or uh, Lightning Bolt, and then sort of take note of cards like Boros Reckoner, cards like Searing Blaze, cards like Sulfuric Vortex, and if you see a lot of them wheel and you know that no one's in that archetype, then you can snatch those cards up, and now out of that pack, instead of getting the one amazing red, mono red card or whatever, you've gotten an amazing card and also a really good card, and your deck just turns out way better. So, like, if you can take these pivot cards early, pay attention to what cards wheel, and then jump into those archetypes, you can get some. That's. I can words. That's how you get the best deck at the table, in my mind. In my personal opinion. Like when you're getting 4th pick quality cards, 14th pick, you're doing a good job. Actually, I think I've already said this in a video, or maybe I'll say it later in the draft. I don't remember, but it's still true. So, yeah. So right now we're not necessarily 100% mono red. We still got some black floating around, but it's become fairly evident that we're most likely going mono black. I mean, we do have a lot of ways to splash this Vindicate if we really desire. Godless Shrine, Isolated Chapel, and Black Lotus Mox Diamond. Not that Black Lotus is great at that, but whatever. Alright, Sin Collector's not a bad card. Again, though, it's not great in mono red, for obvious reasons. Getting that Moat last pick is sweet, because Moat turns off our Swift Spear, Pyromancer, Chainwalker. Moat would actually be a fairly annoying card for us to deal with. It also screws with Koth, which is less than ideal. See, I'm not big on hate drafting, but when you can incidentally just take cards that are really good like that, it's nice. I could see an argument for saying that hate drafting is slightly better in Cube, just because you know you're going to get a deck anyway. So like taking some mediocre card that you don't want isn't that impressive. Mox Sapphire, yeah, we can wheel a Fire Blast. Badlands is okay, but it's not that great. And Mox Sapphire is real good. So yeah, we're just gonna take that. Mox Sapphire lets us power out like a turn 1 Young Pyromancer or something. Mox Sapphire is definitely where it's at here. We can wheel that Fire Blast, no problem. No one else is playing red. Badlands, less likely to wheel, and even if it did, we're just going to take Fire Blast anyway, so oh well. This is certainly a deck where I think you can make arguments for not taking a Mox, but I think it's still good enough. Jeez. No, don't take Fire Blast. Don't do it. Ugh. Why did I take Fire Blast? God, we can easily wheel that card. That was silly of me. That Mox is never coming back. Clearly. Hero? I say take Hero, try to wheel Outpost Siege. Yeah, this is the part where I start ignoring black. Yeah. Sorry, this is probably not so interesting. comparatively. My original commentary was probably much better, but the truth is that we're drafting mono red. Picks become pretty straightforward, like Abbot of Carol Keep, for example. Turns out this card extremely good with Black Lotus, because turn 1 you play Black Lotus, crack it, play Abbot, and then, you know, you have 1 extra mana to play with. You can play a land if you hit it off the Abbot. If not, you can play a 2-drop, if it happens to be a 2-drop. Ashiok, why are you still here, man? You shouldn't be here. Magus of the Moon is fine. Unexciting. Dreadbore's okay. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Magus of the Moon. It really only punishes the super ambitious decks. 2-color decks don't usually care about it that much. It's just like the 3-4 color stuff decks, which we're planning to 3-0, so not exactly what you want to be doing with that strategy. But yeah, Dreadbore's fine. We can splash black, no problem. Well, I say no problem. It is a little bit of a problem. We don't actually have any duels or anything. And Exquisite Firecraft, I don't think I need to explain to you why that's a good card. 4 damage, 3 mana, it's great. We can try to wheel the Siege Gang. Ding ding ding, winner winner chicken dinner. Best red card in the cube? Best red card ever printed, maybe? Nah, not best red card ever printed. Like, that probably goes to Wheel of Fortune or something, but Sulfuric Vortex is definitely the best red card in the cube, and if you see it, that's generally a very good reason to go into mono red. Like, if you open it in a pack, and you can start taking, like, Burst Lightnings and stuff, Lightning Bolts, then you can go into mono red from there, because it's such a good card. And even if you can't, if there's not quite enough red, you can audible into, like, blue-red counterburn. It's great in that archetype, too, because you generally still have enough burn to kill people, but you are a little bit slower, and you have, you know, mana leaks and ways of preventing them from putting too much pressure on you. Why in God's name did I take the Chainwalker out? Oh, man. Grim Lavamancer, that's a really good card. Imperial Recruiter is also very good, but that's a card that's... You know, there is this class of cards that I was talking about that only one person wants, and if you're that person, you just wheel it, and Imperial Recruiter is definitely in that camp. And, personally, I think my favorite combo for Imperial Recruiter is to just dig up Abbot. It gets you so much card advantage. So at this point, I'm completely taking out black. Though the Go for the Throat and the Dreadbore are definitely potential sideboard options. Here, I think Firebolt's the pick. Are there arguments to be made for Grim Monolith? Not really. We want to keep our curve low. Actually, there is Tanglewire. But I think Tanglewire is probably a little bit more likely to wheel. Wait, can we wheel Tanglewire? We can, but it would have to be the last card in the pack. So yeah, actually at this point I think Tanglewire is just better. Tanglewire is a very powerful magic card. There we go. Got cold feet at the last second. Well, not cold feet. I just sort of came to my senses. Sometimes when you're not sure about a pick, you know, you do just go down to that last second and you have to make a gut response, and I think I made the right one there. Sure, 1 mana burn's good, but Tanglewire is amazing. Fire Drinker Satyr's okay. If they play like a 5/5, you know, if they play like a turn 3 or 4 Gurmag Angler, you're feeling pretty sad about yourself. And right now, yeah, this is a potential 23 card deck. If we just throw in a couple black cards. The fixing's not great, but the Badlands, you know, that's what the Badlands is for, right? And we have Mox Diamond, that gives us 2 black sources. 3 if you count Black Lotus. Outpost Siege is a totally fine card that I'm happy to have. Dragon Skull Summit, not close. I mean, Gurmag Angler's good too, but I still don't think it's close. Alicia. Alicia's fine. We're never activating her, by the way. Not for that Double black is too much. Siege Gang Commander wield. Yeah, again, this is how you know if you're new to drafting and you're not sure and you like are trying to figure out what a 3-0 deck looks like. This is how you know, is when you get a 15th pick card that's really good in your deck. When you get a 13th pick card that's, you know, one of the better cards for your deck. That's how you know you're getting a 3-0 deck, because you just have so much higher a density of cards that are good than your opponents. And in Cube specifically, Cube is a very archetype-driven format, so you definitely, like, all of your cards should be doing the same thing, whatever it is. Or they should be pieces of a puzzle. Personally, in this cube, I've had a lot more luck with decks like Mono Red, where every card does the same thing, versus like a Storm deck where you have certain numbers of certain things, but you need a little bit of all of them to actually win. Like, I think there's just consistency issues, and people can power out a lot of really powerful stuff by turn 4, so you just don't have time to be messing around. You need to be assertive and fast and consistent, and that's a hard thing to do sometimes. But when you're playing decks like Mono Red or like a white deck, like I like white decks like White Blue Stoneblade is really good. If you get like True Name Nemesis and Geist of Saint Traft and you grab a couple swords and a Battered Skull and a Stoneforge Mystic, like then you can have only, 5 to 10 creatures, but if they're really good creatures, they can win you the game on the spot. And then you throw in cards like Gideon, and you fill everything else with just removal and disruption, and you can actually pretty consistently win games that way. You just have to get down one threat and protect it, play like an aggro control game. That's another archetype that I do like a lot. Anyway, away from the draft advice and back to this deck in particular. We're cutting the black from the main, because the only thing we're getting out of black is Imperial Seal, Dreadbore, and potentially Go for the Throat. Both of which are not really... Not every deck's running creatures is the issue, which is why I took them out, and it just makes us less consistent for no particularly amazing reason. But considering bringing them back in, maybe? I just don't think Imperial Seal's quite good enough. I really shouldn't have taken that Fire Blast. I could have wheeled something out of that pack instead. Though, I think we wheeled the Badlands, right? Yeah, we did wheel the Badlands. I definitely like having the option of the Black Splash, but I don't think it's right in the main. Like, I believe that I'm going to leave Gorehouse Chainwalker and Alicia in the sideboard, and that's just a straight-up mistake. I just had some biases against Gorehouse Chainwalker for some reason. Like, just because I played Return to Ravnica or whatever set that came out in, and it's like, that was a fine creature, but it just doesn't feel like a cube quality card to me for whatever reason. When the truth is, it is. And it's very good in this deck, and I should be playing it. Alicia too. Just, I want to be more assertive, just as assertive as possible, and Imperial Seal's not great. I mean, I'm running it, and it does let me get my best card, so it's not like it's the worst possible thing. MTGO, you so silly. I wonder if they should change the way that these multicolor... I wonder if they can change the way that these multicolor cards work with the land suggestion. Like, it's not a big enough deal for them, for it to be a priority for them, but I am curious. So yeah, this is basically the deck. I like it a lot. I'm intrigued to see where it will go. I think it's very strong. I just... Like, every deck I played before this was like a janky ramp deck. Well, not janky, just inconsistent. And I wasn't really happy with them, because it's like, if you channel Emrakul turn 2, then hooray, but otherwise, sometimes you just get run over. I didn't have enough stuff in the middle of the curve, but I really like playing these decks because they say, I'm just going to do my thing, and if you stumble, or if you don't have a cohesive plan, or you don't go off turn 3 or 4, then I'm just going to run you down. And that's kind of the reason why I like to play Magic. That's why I like to play decks like Infect. Well, I like Infect too, because I just like the way it plays and the way that you have to think to play it, but I just like playing assertive decks that just ask your opponent to sort of go off. They're also good if you're not familiar with a cube. Mono red's usually a good archetype, and it does allow you to bypass knowing what all the decks do. Because if you're, say, playing a controlling deck, you have to know what cards need to be countered, what cards don't need to be countered. You need to know how all the decks work so that you can fight them properly. But mono red decks just don't care. So we'll see you guys in round 1.